A very warm good morning, Class 8, and I welcome you all to your social science class. So, students, we were doing lesson number 5 from your history book, and the name of the chapter is When People Rebel, 1857 and After. So, students, when we were doing this chapter, we tried to understand about the various changes that were brought by the British colonial rule in India, and we then tried to analyze about how the Indians reacted to those changes. So we talked about a lot of things. We talked about the various policies of the British and how the Nawabs lost their power. We talked about the peasants and the sepoys, the reforms in the Indian society. And also, yesterday, when we had our live class, we discussed about how in 1857, a small mutiny became a popular rebellion in the entire country. So, if you remember yesterday's explanations, then we talked about the need of the Indians to remove or take out the British colonial rulers as a whole, isn't it? So we talked about Mangal Pandey, and there we also discussed about how the sepoys became really rebellious, and they went to Delhi to meet Bahadur Shah Zafar and requested him to be their leader in the mutiny. And finally, when Bahadur Shah Zafar accepted, then the British were shaken. They were afraid. They now had fear in their mind that the company rule would soon come to an end. So slowly the rebellion spread. People all over India, especially the sepoys, they joined hands with each other. All the Nawabs and all the Peshwas, the sultans, whose rights were taken away by the British at one point of time, even they stood up against the British. They joined hands with the sepoys. Not only the people from the royal families, even common people, even they started to go against the British in their own ways. For example, we talked about a person, a Maulavi from Faizabad called Ahmadullah Shah, who professed that the rule of the British would come to an end very soon. We talked about Bakht Khan. We talked about the religious fighters. Yes or no? We talked about what you call it as the Ghazis. Then we talked about Kuwar Singh and such other leaders and fighters who came from across India to join the fight of the sepoys and to make the rebellion successful. And we also came to know that the British were very afraid out of this, especially the incident which made the Indians understand that the British were now at a very difficult situation was on 6th of August 1857, when a letter was sent by Lieutenant Colonel Tytler to his commander in chief expressing the fear felt by the British. So he wrote about the condition of the British people. He wrote that how there was violence that was spurring up, and the entire mutiny was turning up to be violent. So these were the things that we discussed. We when we started the chapter, we discussed all these things from the last few days. So today we will be discussing about the reaction of the company on this rebellion. So we understood that the rebellion, it turned out to be a big one. We understood that people of India joined hands, and we also understood that the British were now afraid. They were in a very bad situation. But still, do you think that the company will remain quiet without doing anything? Definitely not. The company decided to fight back. The company, the East India Company, now decided that whatever it be, we have to take the help of England, we have to take the help of our queen, and in that manner, we have to teach the Indians a lesson. And so, the topic that we are going to cover today is The Company Fights Back, page number 58 from your textbook. So the company, as I told you, it was already afraid. And because of the large scale violence and because of the deplorable condition of the company soldiers, now the East India Company decided to suppress this revolt. They decided, now, whatever it may be, now we need to bring this revolt to an end and we need to cool down the people of India. And that is why the British did something. So, what the British did was they brought reinforcement from England. So, when I say reinforcement, I mean they tried to bring in certain laws from England, written down from the Queen of England. So, through these reinforcements, various laws were passed. And all these laws were made in such a way that if the revolts could be seen doing anything against the British, in that case, they would be tried in court and they would be finally hanged to death. So, all the laws that were made, all the orders that were brought from England by the British East India Company was now used against the Indian sepoys, and especially all those people who revolted against the British. So, I have highlighted some points here. So, Delhi, which was at one point of time, um, taken away by the rebel forces, by the forces of the common people of India. So Delhi was recaptured from those rebel forces in September 1857. And when Delhi was recaptured, then the last Mughal emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar, he was sentenced to life imprisonment. That means he was put to jail for his entire life. And his family and his wife was sent to a prison in Rangoon. So, not his family actually, only he and his wife, they were sent to a prison in Rangoon. So, the name of the wife of Bahadur Shah Zafar was Begum Zinat Mahal. So, both Bahadur Shah Zafar and Begum Zinat Mahal, they were sent to a prison in Rangoon, present day Burma, in the month of October 1858. So Bahadur Shah Zafar died in Rangoon, and there were two sons of Bahadur Shah Zafar. So both the sons of Bahadur Shah Zafar, it is said that these two sons were killed by the British just before the eyes of their parents. That means Bahadur Shah Zafar and Begum Zinat Mahal, they were present when the British killed the two sons of theirs. So it was a very sad life for both the husband and wife, of course, both the Badshah and his wife. And slowly, when they were shifted to Rangoon in Burma, then Bahadur Shah Zafar died in the month of November in the year 1862. So Delhi was finally recaptured, as already said in the last paragraph. And now the British thought that now things will be fine. But still, things were not fine because people still continued to resist the battle. There was no Bahadur Shah Zafar to guide them, but still the people decided not to rest, and they kept on continuing with their battles against the British. So the British, that is why, had to fight for 2 years. That means 1857, the thing started, the rebel started. So 1858, 1859. So they had to fight for almost 2 years to bring down the entire popular rebellion. So let us see step by step how the British controlled the Indian rebels. So Lucknow was taken in 1858. And Rani Lakshmi Bai was also defeated and killed in June 1858. So even the same thing happened with Rani Avanti Bai, who at the very beginning got some kind of victory, but later on she chose to die when she was surrounded by Britishers on all sides. Then Tantia Tope, he escaped. When Rani Lakshmi Bai was killed, Tantia Tope escaped, and he escaped into the jungles. And there he tried to train the tribals and peasant leaders who lived in the jungles. And he showed them, or he taught them, the techniques of guerrilla warfare. Guerrilla warfare is a kind of a training that is given to people, that is given to soldiers for attacking their enemies. So Tantia Tope, when he escaped to the jungles, at that time he took the support of the tribals and the peasant leaders living in and around those jungles, and he taught them guerrilla warfare. But of course, he was not very much successful, and later in 1859, he was captured, he was tried in the court, and ultimately he was killed by the British as punishment. So, just as the victories against the British earlier encouraged the rebellion, in the same manner, the defeat encouraged desertions. So, the people in India, as you kept on reading before, the people of India were really very happy, very enthusiastic when they saw that the rebellion was becoming successful. So, when the people saw that the rebellion is becoming successful, then more and more people joined in. But now things have changed. The tables have turned because now people saw that the Britishers are winning everywhere. The Indians are being defeated. And that is why the encouragement, that enthusiasm of the Indian people to fight against the British also came down. It was deserted. Now that encouragement was nowhere to be seen. So this is all about how the mutiny was finally coming to an end. So, after the British understood that now there won't be any big rebellion against them, then the British thought of winning back the loyalty of the people of India. So, all those people who were at one point of time against the British, now the British wanted to win back those people. And that is why they announced rewards. They announced prizes for all those loyal landholders. Okay, so all the people of India who had their own land and who were loyal to the British, they were given all the rights to enjoy their traditional land rights. So the British did not make any kind of changes, any kind of strict laws for those people who were landholders and who were Indians and who were loyal to the British. Okay, and they also said that those people who had rebelled and if they went and confessed it to the British, in that case, their crime would also be forgiven. But of course, there is another twist to that. The person or the landholder who went against the British and who killed any white people, of course, he would not be spared. He would be given some kind of punishment. So, this is the way how the British was trying to bring back the people under their hands, under their control. So, the British said that all the people, all the landholders who were very loyal to them and who decides that they will never go against the British, they said that they would remain safe and their rights would remain same. But of course, there was one exception to it. They should not have killed any whites. British, that means. So, whatever be the reasons, there were only small group of people who still remained loyal to the British. The entire nation now wanted independence, but still the British was able to suppress the rebellion as a whole. And many leaders, many Rajas, Nawabs, Sepoys, they were all tried in the court and they were all hanged. So ultimately, the mutiny, which people thought to be very successful in 1957, it came to an end very sadly after 2 years. And in this, lots of people had to sacrifice their lives for the betterment of the people of India. So, students, although this mutiny, the Sepoy mutiny of 1857, although it was not totally successful, but we cannot say that the mutiny was a failure, because this was the first case when the Indian people tried to go against the British, when they had the courage to actually speak up against the British and fight against them. So it was the first step towards fighting for India's independence, we can say. That is why this mutiny, the Sepoy mutiny of 1875, it remains to be a very bright chapter of Indian history. Sorry, I was wrong when I said the year. It's 1857. So, this Sepoy Mutiny of 1857 was written with golden letters, as we say, in the subject matter of history. And this movement encouraged the other leaders who were born later and who fought ultimately for India's independence and brought freedom to the people and to our land. So, students, that's all for today. I hope you all have a very clear understanding now about how the British tried to overthrow the Indian sepoys and all the rebels who were moving against the British. So, that's all for today, students. I'll be sending you the homework very soon. Just after I send the link for this video, I'll be sharing your homework as well. So, please do your homework on time, and your last date of submission of your homework is on Friday. So on Friday, you will be submitting your homework, and those who submit late, of course, you will be getting negative marks. So that's all, dear students. Please study the chapter well. And for any doubts, as I told you, we will meet again on Saturday in the live class and we will discuss further. Thank you so much and have a very good day.